I just want to say Hines Ward and James Harrison got snubbed from this. Willie Anderson, no. Devin Hester, in my opinion, no. Not in terms of over Hines, but yes, Devin Hester deserves to be in. I also think Hines Ward should be in. I'm just saying, like, because if you make the case of like Hines Ward and James Harrison should be on, you got to take some people off.
No,
right?
that's absolutely the case.
So those are two. I would also take off Albert Lewis. Dude's got I think he's got like 3 or 4 Pro Bowls, and they're just tossing him in like that. Almost like some of these dudes that they've been letting in the last couple of years. It's just unbelievable to me. And then, between Torrey Holt, Andre Johnson, Reggie Wayne, take one of those dudes off. Put Hines in.
All right. So who's your hard five?
There's 3 or 4 guys that could be off, in my opinion. You put Hines or James Harrison on.
Okay. I was about to say, because that's always the conversation. We're going to take somebody off who we putting on, or if we're going to put somebody on who we taking off.
I thought I was with you. I thought Darren Woodson
was the one for me, bro.
I did some research. I'm like,
he's like that?
I mean, with the Super Bowls and some of his all-pro.
Okay.
I think you're right. We were just maybe a little too young. We caught him on the latter half of his career.
Because I look at Darren Woodson, or if not Darren, I would say Zach Thomas. And see, my big issue with putting Debo on
I feel like these are good finalists. I will say that. I think a lot of these guys actually should.
When I look at those rushers, I'm like, I don't feel like any of those 3 don't belong up there. Like, I think if one of those guys was off right now and Debo was up there, I would be like, yo, you can't have a dude with this many career sacks not be up here. Like, yeah. Yeah, because you got to have Revis up there. You know what? Rondé Barber. Maybe I'll probably take him off. I would probably take him off. If I would pick another person, I'll probably pick him.
I didn't even think of him.
Because to me, I look at Rondé.
I thought he should have been a Hall of Famer already.
I mean, he's nice. He got the hardware.
I think he was pretty good.
No, he was. He's nice. He's a finalist. He's definitely nice. They're all nice. That's the other part. It's not like we're saying like a person sucks. It's just you got to nitpick when you're talking Hall of Famers.
Okay.
So if I'm nitpicking, I'm a nitpick.
I know, 100%. But I can understand your nitpick now looking back. I didn't even look at some of his stuff because I just thought he was a lock. I don't know if it was the Madden ratings always being 96, 97 overall every year.
It was Madden. It was the twin brother.
He always had a high rating.
It was Madden. It was the brother in the league. It was him getting hot on the Buccaneers defense and then them winning the Super Bowl and doing it the way that they did. That changed a lot of how we thought about Rondé, man. Yeah. The same way everybody thought Tiki was a lot more nicer when he started holding that ball, way up here. It was like, man, this Tiki dude, he might maybe a Hall of Fame too. Put him in.
He had a really nice 8 or 9 year peak from early 2000, like 01, 2000.
When with the Kerry Collins, I forgot who was the other receiver they had out there.
You're talking about Tiki.
Yeah, in New York. Yeah. Okay. I was thinking about the brothers. Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. Yeah.
But he would be the one for me.
Rondé could leave here too. I mean, 5 Pro Bowls, 3 All Pros, Hall of Fame, all 2000s team, Super Bowl champion.
He nice as heck. Don't get it twisted.
He should. I think he should be in.
But to me, I look at him and I think of James Harrison in the same class to me. Like, I'm like, yo, they're dope as heck. But do I look at Rondé in the same class as Troy, Ed Reed, Brian Dawkins? I personally don't. And that's kind of like my dilemma with Debo. It's like, I love Debo. You know me. I'm a Debo fan. Then it turned out he's my teammate. Then it was like, yo, that's my dude. So it was like, I want him in. Same way I would love Peasy to get in. But it's just like, when I think of them versus a DeMarcus Ware, like we just talked about, versus a Dwight Freeney, like we just talked about, it's just like, yo, that just seems different. Even when I think of like Von Miller, you know what I mean? When his time's going to come up, it's like,
he should be first ballot.
You see what I mean? Like, it just seems a little bit different when I'm thinking of some of those type of players. So that's like my big hiccup with it, man.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think Harrison should necessarily be first ballot or Hines. They should just get in. Based off,
I want them in though.
Literally based off who I'm seeing, they're letting in. Like granted, this dude was from Pitt, Jimbo Covert. Dude's an O lineman and had 2 Pro Bowls, and they just let him in last year. Yeah. Like, how does that happen? Who's the other? Was it Leroy Butler? I'm looking at his stat. He's got 3 or 4 Pro Bowls. Like, what?
Yeah.
So if they got those type of accolades and we're leaving Hines Ward or James Harrison off, that doesn't add up to me.
And that's the part where I don't know, but at the same time,
Cliff Branch, didn't he make it?
But also, how are you evaluating offensive linemen? You know what I mean? We don't. It's not a position where it's numbers. It's a position where it's eyeball test. Who could tell that story? Whereas if we're hollering about numbers, for every case that a person would make for a receiver in the 2000s, it's going to be a person making a case for a guy in the 70s and saying that how the game was different, but they were dominant during their time frame. But then you think about when the version of receivers, the ABs, the Julios, and that version, and what their numbers are going to look like. When we start looking back on your Hines and company, you're like, well, dang, man, their numbers are a little bit off. And then we'll be saying what? Well, the game was different back then too, man. It was passing, but it still wasn't to this extent. And I just think that that's the part where we kind of overlook them offensive linemen like that because their numbers are never evolving like that. And when we're trying to figure out Pro Bowls and all pros for those type of guys, we know there's no direct science with that. But if you're a person that watched the game back then and knew it like that, if they're saying this dude might be the Joe Thomas of that time frame, I'm like, man, Joe Thomas was a dog. So if he's in that type of class, then who am I to say nah because of, well, they didn't give him 10 All-Pro or 10 Pro Bowls. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't know because I wasn't watching it back then either. And that's why when you brought him up, I was like, man, I don't know that dude like that. So I just defer to whoever, the committee thought was good enough for that because, once again, it is a person has to present. They got to speak on it. And that was the dilemma when we talk about Hines and Debo. Somebody has to present on their behalf. When we talk, I think it was
better presenters.
Yeah, remember it was Ed Bouchette that was presenting for. It did it for Troy, right?
Get me in there.
No, it was Lolly. Lolly did it for Troy. Excuse me on that.
Get me in the building.
Yeah, but it's like everybody has like their different ways of doing the presentation for their guys. And if you're a guy that's not gonna tell the story with energy or not tell the story in a way that can get people to really respect it, then that could be a little bit of an issue. Some players, you don't have to do a lot of talking. When Tom Brady retires, you're not going to have to do a lot of talking. Ben, you're not going to have to do a lot of talking. You know what I mean? Like, it's certain players that you don't have to do that, but then there are other players that you do got to talk. When Troy Polamalu retired, nobody had to talk on that. Let's be real. We both could have went in there and we would have got in. Hines, you got to make a case because it's a lot more nuance. It's a lot more gray area. It's a lot more debate, interpretation. What do you weigh more? Postseason, regular season, longevity, numbers. Okay, are these numbers weighed differently because of this quarterback? Are these numbers weighed differently because he played with this guy? What about that style? What about this? Team success, all of that. So if you're in there, you got to be able to sell it like that and do it at a level that is credible and they're going to respect it. And then just hope that they actually agree with the case that you make, because you could talk to you blue in the face and they just like, nah, I think this guy's better. And that's the other part.
They got to get me in the room.
Nah.
Because if Isaac Bruce is making it and Hines Ward ain't, like...
he makes the case is there. Like, trust me. When I look at them type of receivers, your Isaac Bruce, your Torrey Holtz, I'm like, yo, like, Hines to me is still in those conversations.
And then if you're talking about...
Steve Smith, that's going to be in that same conversation. Like, they're all in those same conversations to me.
Like Terrell Davis, the whole argument with him is the incredible peak and then the playoff runs.
Right.
So if you're talking that,
then
that
that's
can
the
be
argument for Hines.
Well, not even Hines. I would say the correlation, because I think Hines had a better longevity than Harrison.
He did.
But I would say Harrison had that 4 or 5 year peak.
This peak, yeah.
Dude, he's like one of the best defensive players in the league. And then that 08 Super Bowl run, incredible.
It was crazy. Yeah.
One of the greatest plays in NFL history, the pick six.
Yeah.
So, like, I just feel like these dudes should get. I don't know when it's gonna be. It's just. I guess it sucks waiting, and it, like I said, it's the annual just kicking the balls of like these dudes getting snubbed. In my opinion, they should get in.
I would agree, man.
I feel like they will before I die.
I hope so as well, man. I hope so as well.